If you need to update your deck, go to 50cards.shop. Get 5% off your next purchase when you use code NEXUS. How's it going, YouTube? Today, we're going to be doing another deck profile for you guys, and today we're going to be going over my Bavsargra deck. So Bavsargra, as you guys know, is tier 1, best deck in format. This is just like indisputably going to be the deck that you're going to see everyone playing locals. It won Worlds. It is in the top 4 of Worlds twice, I believe. More than 50% of people are playing Bavsargra in tournament environments. It's kind of a problem, which is why I'm hoping to see a potential ban list in the near future for English meta, because right now Bavsargra is a little too strong. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right into the deck profile. Jumping right into the deck profile, we're going to start with our ride line like we always do. So we have our starter, which is the new Arhinsa, but it's just for flavor. We have the new grade 1 Namakar, which is strict upgrade from the previous one. It's when it's placed writing on top of Seer, so it's actually not aesthetics. You have to have the exact grade 1 for the ride line to work. Soul Blast 1, reveal Bavsargra from your ride deck, and then you perform the following, one of the following, which is either search for the new sword or the new shield. And if you win second, you can search for both. So it's just crazy how they already like make the deck better by the fact that going second doesn't really hurt you at all. It does have a continuous effect if you have it on rear, but it doesn't matter because you're going to try and not call this from your drop zone. But if you do, it's still a 10k booster, you know, which is nice, or beater. So yeah, this is just super good right at the bat. You're just pulling 1 or 2 cards right out of your deck, which is good for trigger thinning. And we have our grade 2, which is the new Alibadra, which is when this unit is rode upon by the new Bavsargra. You cannot blast 1, search your deck for up to 2 arm cards with different card names, send them to drop zone, and then you pick 1 and you arm it to your Vanguard. So you immediately for Cannon Blast 1 are able to start the arm effects of the new Bavsargra. It also has a Rearguard skill, which is when it attacks, if your Vanguard is armed, it gets 5k. So it's if you want to have copies in the main deck, but we do not run more than the cards that are in our ride deck. But it is cool that it has a Rearguard skill as well. Then we have our main grade 3, which is Bavsargra Aksayya. So the new Bavsargra is crazy good. It's regarded as the old Bavsargra, so you can equip all the old arm cards to it. It has the act ability of put a card from hand to soul to choose an arm card from drop and arm it. Act ability, when this is armed with 2 or more cards, you can Soul Blast 2 to retire your opponent's front row and gain a crit, just like the old Bavsargra. And then it also has the ability where if you didn't retire anything, you can draw a card, which is really, really cool. Then it has the once per turn auto ability, which is when this becomes armed, you energy charge 1, choose a grade 1 or less from your drop zone call to rear. And if you chose a card with Virelord, you may choose to overdress it onto a Trick Moon instead of just calling it to rear. Because with the prior Bavsargra, you could call Virelord, but you could not overdress it because overdress usually only works from hand. But this Bavsargra gets around it through its card ability, allowing you to overdress right onto your Trick Moons. So with that said, all the effects of this Bavsargra just kind of chains into the rest of your deck. It's super crazy, bonkers good. So let's just go ahead and jump into the rest of the main deck and talk about it. Before I forget, don't forget your energy generator. Just getting that out of the way. So for our normal unit grade 3s, we are only running just 3 more copies of Bavsargra. You just need Persona Ride, and it helps Full Soul because you're rewriting. That's pretty much it. Persona Ride is just stupid good. That's it. Every other deck, Persona deck is going to be doing that, but that's the only grade 3 we run. So now we're moving on to grade 2s. We're going to start with the new card, which is Yugioh. So Yugioh is a restander. So what it does is it has the ability when it's placed on rear from hand, you can energy blast 3, drop an arm card to draw 2 cards. And then if your opponent's at grade 3, that gets 5k. So nice little power. Then at the end of the battle, your Vanguard Bavsargra attacked. If your opponent's a grade 3 or greater, you can kind of blast 1 to stand this unit. So it's just a free restand. Or not free, it's kind of blast 1, but it's just a restander in a deck that is already super, super crazy good. So this is always really nice. And the tons of power that you're getting from Virelord are just going to make this even bigger when it restands. So this is just for sure a 4 of. This is a crazy, crazy good card. So next up we have 3 copies of Apira, which is super good because it helps you fill your drop with key arm cards and your Trick Moons and Virelords. You look at the top 5 when it's placed from hand, choose an arm card, Trick Moon or Virelord, put it into your drop zone, and then, you know, shuffle the deck afterwards. It also has the ability when you arm a card to your Bavsargra, you can energy blast 3 to call it from your drop zone to help you fill your front row. So this is really good now just because now you have a way to overdress your Virelords from the drop zone directly. So this helps with the consistency of that, and also just thins out your deck so you can put your Trick Moons in your drop zone too. So this is a really good card for the early game, and obviously it recycles itself, so we don't really need to maximize, you know, the count just for the beat sticks, and so 3 works just fine. Lastly, for normal unit grade 2s, we're running 2 copies of Bavsargra, which is a pretty old card. It's from D set 12. What it does is when it's placed on rear, you Soul Blast 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You pick up to 2 cards that are either an arm card, or 1 card is an arm card and the other card is an Dress Boost card. One of them is going to go to your hand and the other goes to the drop zone, and that kind of works either way, because at this point, whatever you're calling for your drop zone, either an arm or a Dress Boost card, it's going to proc off either way. So this just helps you thin out your deck, get your resources. It also has the ability of when it attacks a grade 3 unit, if you have 2 arm cards on your Vanguard, it gets 10k, so it's a 20k beater. So it's a good beat stick. It thins out your deck. It does cost soul, so we don't want to keep continuously using it because we want to keep the soul for Bavsargra. But also we do a pretty good amount of thinning, so the 2 copies works fine. I've even seen lists that only run the 1 just for like a quick little search, but I like the 2. It comes in handy every now and then. The card's good, but yeah, if you want to look for space to drop stuff, you can drop this to like 1 copy and I think it'll be fine. But that's it for the grade 2s. We're going to go ahead and jump into the grade 1s. Starting off, this is our pre-ban list. We don't know if we have a ban list yet. I'm just making that prediction for the future, but we currently are allowed to run 4 copies of Firelord. In Japan, they're only allowed to run 1. We are so fortunate to be in this Bavsargra meta that allows us to run 4. So why is this such an important card to keep running at 4? Well, it's Firelord, so it overdresses over Trick Moon. It has the ability where it cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and it also has the ability of when it's placed on rear by the overdress ability, you counterblast 1, choose a total of 2 armed cards from your hand or drop zone, and you put 1 arm it to your Vanguard, and then the other one goes to your soul. So it fills the soul and it helps you arm without, you know, playing an order for the turn. Also, the Dress Boost ability, which is crazy good. When this boosts, while it's in the overdress state, all of your front row units gets 5k until the end of the turn for each of the arm cards your Vanguard is armed with, which means that your front row is getting 10k ideally every single time this boosts. So if you have multiple copies on the board, that's, you know, 20k or 30k to your front row to the end of the turn just for boosting. That's it. You don't even have to use the counterblast ability. That just kind of helps you arm cards repeatedly. And you can do funny plays like call on top of this to put it back into your drop zone and then overdress it again with Bavsargra repeatedly so that you can, you know, keep arming cards and filling your soul and getting off arm abilities. But the dress boost is what makes this card really crazy good. So if you have multiple Firelords in your back row, they're not touchable because they can't be targeted by card effects, and they just sit there and they boost your front row with plus like 20 to 30k depending how many you have. It's an insane card to say the least. Resource management, power, all these things is just phenomenal for the deck. Next up, speaking of resources, we're running 4 copies of Cindy. This is the sneak peek promo or topper that came in the, gosh, I don't even remember what set it was, but it was one of the sneak peek promos from like set 12 or 13 or something. This card was like super cheap and now it's super expensive. And what it does, if you have a Vanguard with Nirvana or Bavsargra in its name, you put this into your soul, choose an arm card from your drop or a card with the overdress ability for your drop zone put in your hand. So you can just put Firelord back into your hand if it's in your drop zone, or you can pick an arm card, which is either way, you're just getting a card back in your hand and it fills the soul. So it feels free. On top of being free, it has a drop zone ability of when your unit with Trickstar or Trick Moon is placed on rear by your grade 3 Vanguard's ability, other than during the battle phase. If you do not have a rearguard with the same name as this card, you may call this from drop. So that means that when you move to Soul and then Soul Blast and it's in your drop zone, pull out Trick Moon, pull out Cindy, Cindy moves itself to Soul again, grab an arm card or grab a Firelord, and then you overdress onto your Trick Moon with the Firelord, or you just have arm cards in your hand just to, you know, have more cards in hand, put things to Soul, you know, with Bavsargra's ability, putting a card from hand to soul. So there's a lot of synergy with Cindy. And it's also just nice to have an 8k booster. I could say that you could run 3 to 4 copies of this because they are recyclable. I'm running the 4 because I have the space. But if you find yourself wanting to play around with some ratios and you want to drop it down to 3, you know, I think that's a safe bet. But Cindy is definitely a minimum 3 of card for Bavsargra. It's such a good card. Lastly, for grade 1 normal units, we have our 3 PGs. Pretty normal for a standard deck just because we have our Elementaria Sanctitude, which is our 4th Sentinel. So that's why we have this. If you don't have Elementaria, you can just run the 4th PG. That works fine. I'm just running Elementaria because there are Lyle Odium decks out there with the triple drive ability, and I like to PG for free. So that is it for the grade 1s. We're going to go ahead and go into our grade 0 normal units, which we just only have the MVP Trick Moon. So Trick Moon is your base for Virelord. When it's placed in the back row center from the drop zone, you can countercharge 1. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the Alibadra, where you arm a card with Counterblast 1 when you ride Bavsargra on top of it, then use Bavsargra's ability to call the Trick Moon to the back row to countercharge. So it's like you did all that for free, which is really cool. It also has a Dress Boost ability, which is when it boosts, the boost unit gets plus 10k until the end of the battle for each of your armed cards. So if you just have this as a solo booster on the side, that's a plus 20k booster if you don't over adjust the Virelord. But obviously you want to do the Virelord because it gets 10k to your front row as opposed to just 20k to the boosting that single unit. For Trick Moon, 100%, and even after the Virelord gets hit, we're 100% sticking with the 4 Trick Moon just because it's still a really good target for Bavsargra. I am honestly surprised this is kind of a segue. They should really make a Bavsargra like trial deck or like a starter deck or some type of like entry product that comes with Trick Moons because of how essential they are to the Bavsargra deck, and they only got reprinted once, I believe. So just for accessibility reasons, I think a Bavsargra entry product would be really, really cool. Bushiroad, just throwing that out there. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go into our trigger units. The trigger lineup is like super simple. We got our 4 Burning Flail crits, we have our 4 vanilla crits, then we have our 3 fronts. We draw a crazy amount in this deck, so we don't need draw triggers. And it's kind of funny because I think this is the first time Bavsargra can really get away with running fronts instead of draws. The deck really needed draws in the past. We have our 4 vanilla heals. That's what I'm just rolling with for now because, you know, just I haven't really felt like I need the skill heals at the moment. Maybe the ones that get more power if your opponent has a crit, just for the Bavsargra mirror. But at the moment, I'm just sticking with the 4 heals, but you could do like 2 of the ones that gain an extra 15 shield if your opponent's Vanguard gained a crit by an ability. And lastly, of course, Drag Veda, because who doesn't want to restand their Vanguard with a crit on it? So this is like super typical, super simple trigger lineup, nothing crazy here. And then now we're going to get into the fun part, which is the order cards. So for the orders, I'm running 2 copies of the sword and 2 copies of the shield, along with 1 copy of Shuriya, the hammer. So the sword, we'll just get into it right now. So the sword is crazy good. It does have a cost of Counterblast 1, but it doesn't really matter because you can just arm cards via card abilities instead of playing them like normal orders. Then it also has the auto ability. When this is armed, you choose your Vanguard and it gets the continuous ability of your front row, just gets 5k just for free. Then it also has when the unit that is armed attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, you may have the armed unit get drive +1 until the end of the battle. And at the end of that turn, this goes to your drop zone. So now your Vanguard has triple drive. So you have a Bavsargra with triple drive, or drive, twin drive +1 drive. So 3 drive checks, a crit, tons of power to your front row. It's like, it just feels unfair, you know? And the fact that it goes to drop zone means that you can just keep reapplying it, like equip it over and over again, and just making it super easy for you to get that front row power effect. Then we're running 2 copies of the shield. The shield is a play cost of Counterblast 1, but again, it doesn't matter because we can just play it via card abilities. When this is armed, you draw a card, so that's just free as well. So you can just arm it, draw, free hand. It also has the ability of when the armed unit is attacked, you can give it plus 10k for that battle, so that's once per turn, similar to the old shield. Except this one has an added cost. For an additional Soul Blast, you can give it 20k shield instead of 10k, which is like super good because you can fill Soul really easily in this deck with Virelord and Cindy and, you know, just tons of effects. But yeah, so these 2 are obviously 2 ofs in my opinion because they go hand in hand. I am running 1 copy Shuriya, which is the hammer. The reason for this is because you can arm this first and then you can use Virelord to arm the sword afterwards. Because what this does is when this card is armed, you choose one of your opponent's back row rear guards and retire it. So you can get rid of like pesky boosters, or like if you're playing against Reziel, for example, and you want to get rid of Aerial Sage just to be annoying so they can't countercharge every single turn. There's other really good back row cards like Squirrel and Fox for Levy Dress, but like it's not the biggest difference, but it does help a little bit. The other big thing is that you can give your Vanguard 10k for the turn. So your Vanguard just gets an extra 10, then you rearm the sword after that So just more power to your Vanguard. And this also has at the end of your turn, you can put this into the drop, choose a right deity arms with a different card name for your drop, and you can put it into your hand. That's typically not going to happen because you're going to arm this and then arm the sword right afterwards, sending this to the drop zone. But this is just nice to have because it's another arm card, so it's searchable via card effects. And it's just good to like cycle every single turn, more power to your van, like I said, and just retire. So you can clear 3 cards each turn, which is really funny because now you have control too. You have control, crits, multi-attack, triple drive. Like this deck just so many things. Another thing I was thinking about potentially doing is dropping a card to run the axe, which is when you attack while it's armed, your opponent has to guard with 2 cards at a time. And then at the end of that turn, you kind of blast 1 and you can arm the shield back to it again. That's just like, I feel like that's a win more thing where it's like, you're really going for the kill of like, oh, you can't PG this, like you are going to die. I don't think this deck really needs it. Maybe post-ban list, but like who knows. Those are it for the arm cards. We still have more orders. We're running 1 copy of Fire Regalis as our Regalis piece. So while we can't play it, we can still discard it when we go into our ride line, go through our ride line. And then what it does is you can remove the card from your hand or drop zone to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, to then just call a card from your deck to rear, which is nice because it's deck thinning. So that's what I typically like to use the card for. You can also run Bracing Angel Ladder if you're worried about retire effects, or this Racing Angel Ladder does help you fill your soul, which is nice. Either one works in my opinion. I am trying the Fire Regalis just for board because I do have some issues where sometimes even though I'm drawing cards, I'm not finding like the pieces to have like a good front row. So I feel that having Fire Regalis to search out, you know, beat sticks helps the deck a little bit. So last but not least, we have our Elementaria Sanctitude, you know, our 4th Sentinel. This is the card that basically says if your opponent has the triple drive ability, this card is free. So besides Stride deck sets, there's Lyodia, Nirvana Java. I can't think of any other decks at the moment that have the triple drive ability, but there's a lot of good versatility. And obviously if you're playing against a Stride deck, like it's just a no-brainer. Just throw it down, gets around guard restrict, so you don't have to deal with like Drag Strider Luard with its guard restriction. You're just, nope, Elementaria, PG. So yeah, that's it for the deck. I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of show like really quick, like the game plan, which is pretty much to just be on Bavsargra. You put a card from hand to soul. It doesn't really matter what it is, but ideally in this situation, after you did your ride, arm a card, which is the shield first. The shield lets you draw a card, then you use Bavsarga to play Trick Moon, and then you use, maybe if you have a Cindy in a drop, you can call Cindy out, which is nice to have. You go Virelord, then, you know, you just grab 2 arm cards from your drop zone. It doesn't really matter which ones. You know, you can put 1 to soul and arm the other, or if you want to use Bavsarga's ability first, you can arm this, then use Virelord to arm this afterwards. So there's different ways to really go about how you're doing it. You're never playing the arms from your hand. That's just the main thing you want to make sure you're doing right. So the end goal is that basically you want to have these 2 attached. You want to have Virelord in your back to give your front row 10k when it boosts, and you're using the rest of the deck to kind of help you thin out your deck, look for cards. You're using Cindy's to fill your soul so you can keep using the Soul Blast 2 every turn to retire. You're using Virelord every turn if you can to fill your soul. And that's pretty much like how the deck functions. You just have these 2 guys, which are there to call if you want to thin out your deck so that you can look at the top 5 or look at the top 7 to look for Virelords or look for Trick Moons, look for arm cards. And then of course you have Yugmashed, which you can substitute for one of these guys after you're ready for your battle phase so that you can Energy Blast 3, discard an arm card that you're getting from Cindy or you're getting from the searches to draw more cards. And then if your opponent's a grade 3, this restands after it attacks. So another really important thing is what you can also do is you can put Virelord in this column like this after you get your second Virelord. So that way you can swing with this first, gives this to the front row 10k. So now this is getting 10k from that. You have another Virelord back here that boosts, gives 10k. And then now you restand with plus 20k on that Yugmashed, which is really, really good. And you can keep that extra 10 from that initial boost. So you're restanding with even more power. This is already by itself going to be like a 33k swing. That's not counting Persona Ride. So if it's Persona Ride, it's like anywhere between 38, 43 for a first initial swing, and then it restands with even more power, and then depending on what you get for triggers. This deck is just so crazy powerful and strong, and the worst part is that it's consistent. It's not high rolly whatsoever. So I do think at the end of the day, hitting the Varalord to 1 will limit the amount of crazy things you can do, because obviously you can't have multiple on your board to keep powering up your front row with these crazy numbers, and you kind of have to stick with the 1 and kind of work with the 1 that you got. I still think the deck is crazy strong after the ban list, but I do think restricting the Varalord to 1 does diminish the deck's performance quite a bit. It's still a really good deck afterwards, but as of right now, with the fact that we can run 4 of these things is what makes the deck crazy good. So that's it for the deck profile. Thank you guys for watching. I do have a game or a couple games of this deck where I was still learning the effects, and I'm still like figuring it out, so there were quite a bit of mistakes from that video. But other than that, this deck is like, it's really, really good. So if you want to watch some gameplay of this deck, by all means, check out those videos. It kind of just really summarizes overall how crazy good the deck is. So hopefully I'll get some more games in the future, and I'm looking forward to playing this deck more often just because of how fun it is too. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.